What's up, guys? Welcome back to Picture Breakdown. This is going to be my breakdown of What If Episode 2. What if T'Challa became Star-Lord? I'm going to be going through this episode shot by shot for interesting visual details, hidden references, as well as any background information that you might need to know. But first, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and notification bell to be notified for every future What If episode breakdown. Spoiler warning for What If Episode 2. Alright, so we open with T'Challa stealing the orb, the same thing as Peter Quill did, and we get the parallels between Peter Quill Star-Lord and T'Challa Star-Lord.
Star-Lord. Who?
T'Challa and Yondu then meet up, and T'Challa says,
"Wouldn't you rather use it to jumpstart the Krylorians' dying star? Save their system from extinction?"
Krylorians are actually the same race as Karina, the pink alien who's working for the Collector. We then see young T'Challa getting abducted by Yondu, and his reaction is way different than Peter Quill's because T'Challa was raised where it was highly advanced technology. Peter Quill just saw this when his mother died, and he had no clue what this spaceship was. Korath then says,
"What about the central bank heist of Darnax 4?
Never hurts to hurt a Skrull."
Tarnax 4 in the comics is actually the home of the Skrull Empire, because remember, in the comics it was the Skrulls, not the Kree, that were evil. T'Challa walks up to Drax at the bar, and Drax says,
Your money is no good here."
a reference to the same line in The Shining.
Your money's no good here.
T'Challa meets up with Nebula, and they start talking about Thanos, and T'Challa says,
"You know he gardens now. You should talk to him. He really has changed."
obviously a reference to Thanos at the end of Infinity War. Nebula tells the group about the mission, and she says they need to get something called the
Embers of Genesis. Nutrient-rich cosmic dust from an ancient supernova with the power to terraform entire ecosystems.
So these things can pretty much create life, which is where it got Genesis from its name. Where Genesis is the first book of the Bible where God created the world and all the life on it. T'Challa makes it into the Collector's Collection, and we see outlines of a bunch of humanoid aliens. The only ones here that I can make out was the one on the left was a Sicarian mercenary, the soldier working for Ronan. You can tell because of the jagged shoulder pads that they have. There's also a jellyfish-looking alien on the bottom right. Yondu and Nebula meet up with the Collector, and he says,
All business? And to think I'm old enough to remember when the Ravagers used to be fun.
this could be a reference that the Collector in the comics is one of the oldest beings in the universe and is actually an immortal being called an Elder of the Universe. The Grandmaster, who we were introduced in Ragnarok, is actually his brother and is also an Elder of the Universe. We get another shot of the collection, and we can see in the middle left, and I think it kind of looks like Mushu from Mulan. Maybe a little Disney reference there. T'Challa then walks past Cosmo the Space Dog, who in the comics was a test subject of the Soviets who sent him to space, and he ended up on Nowhere where he got cosmic rays that gave him telepathic abilities. Then T'Challa walks past a Dark Elf, one of the antagonists of Thor the Dark World, and finally we meet up with Howard the Duck, who we've seen a couple times. Howard the Duck then says,
Cosmic Flora down the hall. Take a Louis at the Frost Giants, a Hard Ralph at the Cronins. You're gonna see a sign for Elvish literature. Ignore that. Total snooze.
Screw it.
Frost Giants are those from Jotunheim, and also what Loki is, and Cronins are the rock aliens like Korg. T'Challa then gets annoyed with Howard the Duck, and he goes to shoot the door panel, and Howard Duck lets out this quack. Proxima Midnight then comes in to stop the riot, and she slams her weapon on the ground, electrifying everyone around her. Okay, yeah, they just overpowered her in this thing. This thing took out literally every single person around her, even Thanos, with one single shot. It would have been so OP if she used this during Infinity War. T'Challa then runs past a ship hangar, and we can see some familiar ships. In the dead center, we can see a Nova Corps ship, and above that one is one of the ships that the Sicarian mercenaries fly, that we saw in the start of the episode. And then there's also a ship that Thor and Valkyrie flew out of Sakaar, but with a little bit different coloring. And then there's a Quinjet on the top right, the jets that S.H.I.E.L.D. uses. T'Challa then finds a Wakandan spacecraft, and the screen shows the ship with some Wakandan lettering showing. I tried to translate this, but it turned out to be gibberish. He then walks into the ship, and we see some letters show up around him. I tried my luck with these, but all I could get were a few words that were kind of random, like understand, hand, but, the. But the rest of the words were pretty much gibberish. I'm really trying, but these letters were just not anything. We then get another shot of some Wakandan letters, and I actually got some real words out of these. Here's what I translated from around the room. make, shapes, and, negative, simplify, and. We then get two simple phrases in Wakandan that actually translate, and I absolutely love the animator that put this in. The one on the right says, "The Circle of Life," referring to the famous song of The Lion King. On the endless round, it's the circle of life. And on the other side, it says, "Timon was here." I literally died laughing when I realized what this said, and I love this so much. We then get the final shot of some different Wakandan text, and one line translates to, "Get out of here." The collector then says this,
I hacked it off the carcass of a terribly chatty crone.
which probably means that he killed Korg. Come on. He also has Hela's helmet and Thor's hammer Mjolnir. So what I'm thinking is that when Hela came out of her prison, Tavon somehow killed her, preventing her from breaking Mjolnir. And then the same thing happened where Thor gets stuck in Sakaar, and that's where the Collector takes the ruling spot from the Grandmaster and then kills Thor, Korg, and presumably Loki, because we can see two daggers that looks pretty similar to the ones Loki uses. And then we also get a glimpse right next to the dagger that looks like it could be Loki's helmet. Alright, so my theory for this week pertains to the ending of this episode, where Peter Quill is approached by Ego, and then Uatu the Watcher says this.
That's a story for another day.
So, Marvel has already confirmed that they're going to be doing a season 2 for this show, and I'm thinking that what Marvel might do is show stories from the same universe as the ones they're showing in this season, but instead of following the same characters, they see what else has changed in the universe for other people, like the Avengers or maybe the Guardians of the Galaxy. I have a few thoughts on this episode. So, one of my initial thoughts was sort of a critique, because in this episode, it turns out that T'Challa convinces Thanos to give up his lifelong goal of snapping away half of life. Yeah, I just don't see any way in the world that this would happen. I mean, but without that, we wouldn't have gotten this episode. And the Collector was a very overpowered villain, but he was really fun to watch. And the references to different MCU installments was really fun. Even though this is kind of a kids-focused show, I think the childish humor was actually pretty funny, and I just overall enjoyed this episode. But let me know down in the comments what you thought of the episode. Before you go, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell to be notified for every future What If episode breakdown. If you enjoyed this week's breakdown, don't forget to hit that like button. It's super helpful for the channel. And if you know someone who's also watching What If, please consider sharing this with them. Put down any questions or comments, and let me know if you think they're going to be using the same timelines for Season 2. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next breakdown.